the reason that I took off is because of these deeply rooted instincts that I still have.
But I ain't finna look for blue. I tripped across them cause I seen it was planned. They try cut me out but didn't know how to count. Told her ring up and didn't know the amount. Expensive new berries I couldn't even pronounce. No gun polish to stick in the pot. Hope nobody gets out of their body. Got himself hurt, he was full of that money.
His breathing is hella heavy. Could we
Breathing is very heavy.
can you put him in the crate? Yeah. Sure. Just for video. Vamp, go. Yeah. All right.
It's a nice new piece of jewelry you got there. Let me see.
Yeah.
That's clean. So what's been going on? Why you got that on there?
Oh, from a DUI that I was fighting, I think, a year and a half. January 14th was Desiree's birthday. Fresh out of marriage. Well, technically, Andrea left, so I was separated since November. And Desiree asked me to come out. Probably knew I shouldn't have came out, but had a drink at Zocalo's and had another drink at Top Golf, and then got behind the wheel. Lost control of the vehicle. Went over the center divide twice, and in doing so, I think I caused an accident where another car spun out of control and I took off, and I should have stayed, but the reason that I took off is because of these deeply rooted instincts that I still have. I thought that I was over a lot of these deeply rooted instincts that I have, like to run, but I just couldn't help but to take off where I didn't. I should have just stayed, and it was an accident. And I was fully covered, but I decided to take off. And then one thing led to another, and cops came, and somebody else was driving my car. And then I had to go back because I didn't want them to take the rap for it. So one thing led to another. They gave me a sobriety test on the spot. I passed, and then I said that I'll go back and volunteer for a breathalyzer. And I blew a .11, but the guy said that I hit him. And really, I can't recall if I hit him or not. That's the problem. But I should have just stayed, right? Because I went over the center divide twice. The fact is I should have stayed, but I didn't. But natural instincts was to run. And then I relived that night over and over and over and over. I could have did things so much differently. So a year and a half later, they got me for a hit and run and wet and reckless. And now I'm on the ankle monitor for 45 days, 3 years informal probation. 3 months DUI classes, 1 year loss of license, and 1 year interlock device.
Oh shit.
For this.
You can't drive for a year?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
That already start?
Yeah, right now. Yeah. And then leading up to it, like having to go to the sheriff's department, it brings up a lot of memories. I ran into somebody there that I knew from prison, which brought up more memories. So even though it's been since 2011, and even prior to that, like a lot of the associations and attachments that I have to prison still come back. Like for most people, this I guess wouldn't be that big of a deal, but there's some attachments that I still have from not having the liberty to come and go as I please. And for some people, they'd look at it as it's a blessing. I still look at it that way, but I can't help but to attach this to like loss of my freedom, loss of the ability to make my own decisions, and that's hard for me. And I was telling Jen that I have a hard time explaining that to some people. Like I don't think even to Tina, like she doesn't really understand it. She kind of understands it, but not to the level where I'm feeling a little bit run down, depressed. And really, I should be happy, but I'm confined.
No, man, it's gonna bother you for sure.
Yeah, I'm confined to. And I don't want to say confined because that's not the right word, but I'm confined to the gym for 12 hours a day, which is fine. And then I'm confined to here. And then I got to call and ask permission to do things. And I've done everything in my power to stay as far away from that as possible. Not only that, but I also feel shame because I have a lot of friends that are in law enforcement, and they're all vouching for me. Like just yesterday, I apologized to a couple of them. I got a phone call from one And he said, you ain't got nothing to be ashamed about. Like, it just happens. It's a mistake. But coming from where I come from, it's not just a mistake. It could have been prevented. Like, I'm constantly beating myself up now that it's happened. You know, a lot of my clients they're making fun of it. Could we bedazzle it? You know, could we write our name on it? But so I'm trying to make light of it. But as the days pass, I'm having a hard time dealing with it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And then I was talking to Jen about it, and maybe she can explain a little bit more on why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling from a, I don't know, clinical perspective or psychological perspective.
Well, I think just simply it's the reality that you came so close to losing your freedom again, and that's been something you've been trying to protect since you got out. And it's just right in front of you that it could have been taken away like that. And that's what you're always running from, and what's always sitting right there is that you could get caught up, make a wrong decision, something could happen around you, and because of your past, you could lose everything.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the reality. And so it's just the reality.
Yeah, like even going down there, the sheriffs speak to you a certain way, and you get treated a certain way, and it just brings back all of these memories on how I used to be treated and how much hatred I had. And it brings up a lot of trauma that I thought that I did away with, and just like I thought that I did away with a lot of things, even with the accident. Sometimes I think we don't realize how deeply rooted these traumas are until they surface because of a trigger.
Yeah.
Like this incident was a trigger, and then me going to the sheriff's department is another trigger, and that's why I try to stay away from them. Like, I have friends that are in law enforcement, but not at that capacity. Like, I don't come into contact with them at that capacity where now they're my authority. Mm-hmm. So when these things happen, I don't want to name drop, but I don't want to be looked at as just a case, you know? Like the second time I went in, excuse me, I gotta check this in case I gotta blow into my device. Nope. Anyways, I gotta blow into this device 6 times a day. But I don't want to be looked at as just my past. And so often, like, I get away from that, but every now and then I come into contact with law enforcement, and that's all they see. So they pull up my rap sheet, and one of them said, you know, you're the first non-Hispanic Northern I've ever met. You know, you're Romanian. And I said, well, that was a long time ago. And he goes, well, you know, you went in there for attempted murder, gang-related, you had some enhancements, and they can pull up everything I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
What's an enhancement?
It's a gang enhancement because it was a gang-related crime, and then I had
That makes it worse.
Yeah, then I had a
they
weapons
tack on
they tack on
years.
more time, so it wasn't just a crime; it was gang-related, and I was already validated as a disruptive group gang member. So that's what they see, and then because that's what they see, and they don't know me like you know me or like other people know me. They just see me as this other person, like, oh, he's back to doing what he was doing, and I didn't like being treated that way, so I had to just tell them, like, you know, that's not me anymore, so don't associate me to that. And luckily I had people call and speak on my behalf, and I'm honored that I can go from what I used to do to this. So apparently all of the things that I'm doing says something, but I still have this attachment to this other lifestyle, because I'm still not at that halfway mark. Like, I've been a past criminal and a past convict longer than I've been good.
Yeah, totally.
I'm still not there yet. So
Is there ever a time when it's been too much time where it won't cause such a risk to your freedom? Is there like a
No.
It's always gonna.
It's
be
always
there.
going to be there because they can always pull it up. But
But
luckily,
that's true for all of us, right? Like, I think it's just your stuff is obviously through the legal system, and the things that you've done is documented where people can see it. But we all feel that way, like trying to run away from our past, things that we've been through, identities that we've had, you know, and who we are today, and that constant like conflict between who we were and who we are, and we're all of it, right? And how do we integrate all of it and not almost like disassociate from a lifetime ago, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what this channel also allows me the opportunity to do. It's because I always say that I'm not a trainer. I'm not just somebody that parties. I'm not a bodybuilder competitor. I'm
It's
not
all
somebody
of
that
you.
just do drug. I'm all of those things, but
Yeah.
none of those things. But the one thing that I do best is I try to disassociate myself from my past.
Yeah.
And I think in doing so, it's actually causing me harm
I
because these
agree.
traumas.
It's exactly why you are who you are today is because of who you were in your past.
Yeah, so
Like the greatness in you today is because of who you've been in your past. So when you try to disassociate from that, it actually keeps you from your true greatness, right?
Or you try to just not think about it at all.
no, because it brings. I don't know what to do with these emotions. I don't know what to do with these thoughts. I don't know what to do with these attachments that I have.
What thoughts specifically?
Yeah.
Loss of freedom, memories, pain from being in there, trauma from the things that I've experienced, things that I've done, things that I've witnessed, and I try to block all those things
It's
out.
always going to be there.
Yeah, and I haven't worked through a lot of that stuff, and it's I guess it's scary. And stuff like this is like really hitting close to home to all of those triggers.
Yeah.
So
And it
it's-
forces you to be still, which you intentionally
trouble
keep
with-
yourself very busy so that
yeah.
you don't have to sit in it. And I actually felt like when I heard this happen that it was the universe has a funny way of like intentionally putting us in positions so that we can truly heal the parts of us that we're really trying to resist. And what is the only way to get you to really sit in it is to force you to, because you won't do it otherwise. So on some level you may even say that this is something that you've drawn to yourself so that you can really start the healing process and moving through that constant state of needing to be busy and distracted.
Yeah, even the last 2 days have been hard because Sunday I wasn't feeling well, I was sick, and I had a hard time just sitting here. And Tina's like, I've never seen you sit for so long. And then yesterday I had to go report, and they said, you got to go home, straight home, you can't go to work. And I'm like, what? So that's 2 days of just like, being
Yeah.
confined. So it just brings up a lot of memories, that's all. Not good memories. I don't have a whole lot of good
But
memories
this is
from
where
prison.
you get to like redefine that experience of being confined, right? I think that's the point. Like you have to have almost new associations with sitting still and being in small spaces and not like, your strongest association is you in prison, but this is not that, so you're almost forcing your body to re-experience confinement, but you get to kind of now have a different relationship with it today, right?
Yeah.
And that will be helpful.
Not only that, I also started prep for a bodybuilding show.
I was gonna say at least,
Yeah.
at least you get to prep for a
Yeah.
show, man.
Yeah.
And travel.
Yeah, so travel, that was never been back to Romania. Jen may go. I mean, I'm inviting people. That'd be pretty epic. I'd love for you to go, but I understand that's a whole entire.
I always wanted to go.
10 days.
One sec.
Or
Let's
more.
Make sure I don't gotta
20.
blow into this device.
It's right on my birthday.
Nice. There's no
Yeah.
speed limit out there, I don't think.
Yeah, so anyways, that's probably the biggest thing that's happened since making all of this content. I think I worked through a lot of the other barriers, a lot of the obstacles, but it's definitely weighing on me. And then also too, the conversation that I had with you about my nephew giving me a call and just saying how much he appreciates like me being vulnerable and how much I've accomplished. So I always said that I wanted to get into this to help people. And even at first, one time Jen said, are you going to talk about all the bad that you've done as well too? And I was like, well, I'm not a bad person. I've done bad things. I'm not a good person. I've done good things. I'm all of these things. I'm none of these things. And then through life, I think I've learned and I've developed. She's known me for many, many years, and she's always had a tendency of seeing a little bit more than I think I have in me because my framework was just so different and so narrow, where she always had a bigger scope, and she's more in touch with her feelings than I am.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy either. But she's still here.
Still here. And I said that when you first told me you were going to start doing content, because, you know, my perspective from you for many years was you regurgitating a lot of the stuff that you've been reading and all the positive wisdom, and you're very wise, right? But you almost put on this facade that that's who you are. And I have seen all sides of you in all our time together. And so I think what I wanted to know today is, if you're going to start content, are you actually going to show all sides of you, like the parts of you that are not good and that have caused people a lot of pain? And, you know, or is it just another kind of like motivation content, you know, spewing all the things that you've, you know, memorized over the years? And I'm like so proud of you, because this is what I'd always wanted to see, you know, you to just show to just own who you are to everybody, because it's all deserving and worthy of being seen.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from, I guess, the difference between the stuff that I'm doing is, I think a lot of people, as you said, they it's rehearsed. They they have a chalkboard, they have a whiteboard, and it's comical, and it's fun, it's
even
uplifting.
Inspiring, but it's just bullshit. Like, no one wants a fucking cookie cutter quote in their face when they're going through shit. Like, really. And it's not who we are, you know. We all have a lot of pain and stuff that we're also holding, and mistakes we've made.
Oh yeah, sometimes I don't know how to work through it. But that doesn't stop me from showing up. It doesn't stop me from showing up for all my clients, all my friends, and everybody in my life to the best of my ability. Sometimes I feel like I hound her, because, you know, I'm just like, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it? You know, like, if I really care about somebody and I want them in my life, they just may be going through some things that I don't understand. But that doesn't mean that I'll stop trying or reaching out, because the person that stops reaching out, maybe that's the person that could have reached to them, or reached them, you know, and I don't want to be that person. And if I stop reaching out to people, I just stop caring. Yeah. And you know, you probably cut that cord, not me.
Yeah, you don't have to reach out all the time.
I mean, I find myself having to. I care about a lot of people.
It's complicated, you know.
I'm complicated.
Well, and history with you is complicated, so I think, you know, being on the end of just even with me and you simply, you know, it was two different perspectives, right? That whole everything, that all the time that we've known each other, and when you've been on the end of all the pain, I'm a lot more hesitant and constantly thinking about what I want, who are you now, like gauging it. It's always, I'm somewhat cautious is a way to put it, because I know the level of pain that you can cause, and I'm trying to protect myself from that. You know, you're someone who I loved, and so you continuing to reach out is also, you know, you saying like, hey, I'm still going to show up even though I know I may not even deserve to be in your life, quite frankly. And I'm still showing up too, so. Yeah,
that's very powerful, because sometimes the pain that you cause people, you don't realize that you've caused it in that moment, but then when you do realize it, what do you do about it?
Yeah, what do you do about it? Can you still show up and face it? And you're probably the only person in my life that's been able to do that. And that's why I'm still here, because you'll take every hard conversation, you'll listen to every thought, feeling, you'll be honest about how you were and your perspective, and you sit and you can face it. And that's what it takes to move through, you know, pain and conflict and difficulty. And
yeah, that's taken a long time for me to learn. That's not easy.
It's not
but
easy.
But it started with me, And I think a lot of the healing that I've overcome, and I seem to have healed somewhat or better, is because of doing stuff like this. Like I remember at first I used to break down, but now it's just a little bit easier, and a little bit easier, and a little bit easier. And I think through repetitions, it becomes easier and easier. And there's a lot of people in my life that are going through pain a lot, depression, anxiety, identity crisis, confusion. They're lost. There's no direction. They're alone. I've experienced all of those things. I still experience some of those things. Like I don't think there's never a point where you're like, I finally come to this point where I got life figured out.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Life's gonna throw you some other obstacle.
Yeah.
But it's the constant developing and learning and growing that's important. Just like when we're the kids, you know, you go through kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and then you're in high school, then you're in college, and then sometimes after that we just stop. But then rather than learning other people's education, how about you learn more about yourself?
Yeah.
Personal development, and then you can actually lead others better and more. And then tackling the areas that you don't want to tackle, like relationships. It was one of my biggest ones that I just never really wanted to tackle.
And there's Ruben.
Was relationships.
That's the one that everybody's avoiding to tackle, by the way. You're not alone in that. Like, most of us do not know how to have healthy relationships. And
it's hard because you got 2 people or 3 people, and it's hard.
You know what your guys group was about though?
Yep.
yeah.
Probably the most impactful, probably one of the most impactful groups that I've ever experienced, more than gangs, in a positive way,
Yes.
right? Because all of the guys and groups that I've come into contact with have been, you know, a lot of negativity and, you know, bashing, and whenever I come across that, or a guy that has that persona, I don't want nothing to do with that. Been there, done that. I don't want that. That's why I like you so much. Like that's just not who you are. Like your aura isn't about that. You know, it's developing, it's growing, it's caring. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that just aren't like that. They have this, whether they're a competitor or their job, or, you know, they women bash, they guy bash, they're authoritarian. Like I don't want nothing to do with that. I can't stand it. It's not for me. Been there, done that. And this group was just so compassionate and caring, and it showed me how to be vulnerable around other men. And I think for a long time that just, like, I was able to do that, show understanding and compassion, but I couldn't be vulnerable.
You would have moments far and few between. You've been vulnerable.
Oh, or even compassionate, like, you know, like I'm not that compassionate.
No.
Even Tina's told me, she goes, you are not compassionate at all. Like, I said, I'm doing my best, I'm working at it. And I think it's because of my upbringing. Like, I didn't have an easy upbringing, I didn't have an easy childhood. I can't relate to people that don't have struggle. Like, I don't understand what that looks like. That's all I've dealt with was struggle and pain, and you know, I made it. You know, why can't you?
The amount, expensive new berries I couldn't even pronounce. No gun polish, just sticking the party. Hope nobody gets out of their body. Got itself hurt, he was full of that money. We ain't even wanna